きてり込む手がぐらる閉じにはやらせんでエネチキの酒この尻時のこれてモレチティの魂で明日の君開けノクシェスはのエリだけ進め嘘ましめりもそれなり守りたい世界いやこうてて吠えてゆけ金がされも言わずつか燃える心は地もしょな近いコントロールすげて回るよな
A week had passed on Earth, and today, the Z Warriors had a well-deserved rest given by Whis after some intense days. Even Vegeta was forced to rest by the angel, who left for the planet of the goddess of destruction Miu to carry out the cleaning. Krillin, Master Roshi, Tien, Chaos, Yamcha, and Puar got together to go camping and get away from it all, although the old man mostly spent his time looking at adult magazines. On the other hand, in recent days Miu reflected deeply on her jealousy and came to understand that girl named Toka better. She was simple, kind, and above all, very cheerful. I can't study anymore. Whatever I have to do will be done, exclaimed the young woman with purple hair as she settled onto a sofa, then let out a long sigh. This action made Diana chuckle, who was preparing dinner while Goku was with his children watching an anime about a hero school. You've been studying all day. You should relax more and then give it one last look, Miu advised the younger girl while eating some potato chips. Toka pondered what her Ni-sama had told her, as she didn't want to study anymore at the moment, but perhaps she could take one last look later. She nodded with a small smile. Here, said the goddess of Universe 7, handing her the half-empty bag of chips. Then she headed to the kitchen, where her mother was preparing a large amount of food, since everyone there had a big appetite, including the purple-haired girl. Ara, are you coming to help your mother make dinner? How thoughtful of you, daughter! Diana said playfully, without stopping chopping onions. Haha, it was your turn to make dinner. You know, I've been wondering, why didn't you revive your parents or turn back time to save them? She asked her mother while glancing sideways at Toka. What is this? It's delicious! Exclaimed the student, amazed by the taste of the fries, as she had never tried them before. If I were irresponsible, I would have done it. But every action of a god has a cause and effect in the universe. Surely, even if I had saved them, they would have died in some other way. Diana replied in a serious tone without stopping her cooking. At her mother's response, Miu leaned back against the wall with a hand on her chin. That makes sense. Even Whis told me something similar a while ago. She whispered as she remained thoughtful for a few minutes, somewhere. A kind of portal appeared in the sky, and a person wearing a black gi emerged, even sporting a silver ring on one finger. Behind him came another person with purple skin, white hair, and also wearing the same ring as the first. I hope you're right, Hearts, the first man said seriously, standing on the edge at the top of a building. Do you think I'd bring you back to life just to play a joke on you? This is the first timeline, and this is where the goddess of everything is hiding. The man named Hearts replied with a small smile. I'm not interested in the goddess at all. All I want is revenge on Son Goku, exclaimed the wearer of the black gi. Ha ha ha, right now Son Goku, who doesn't master divine ki like in your timeline, is here. Once you finish him off, you'll fulfill your part of the deal, Black. The white-haired man finished, turning around. Ha ha ha, wonderful. I can already taste the victory. Black finished, licking his lips with a psychopathic smile as he prepared to speed away. Wait a moment. If you go now, you'll be defeated in a second. He's facing a goddess of destruction and the goddess of everything right now. We must wait for the right moment. Hearts finished seriously before leaving, followed by a rather annoyed Black. The next day, more precisely in the afternoon, Goku and Miu were on their way to Sukin High School, which Toka attended. They were going to wait for her at the exit at her request, as she wanted to go eat some hamburgers at a fast food restaurant, and the couple did not refuse the request, while Diana stayed at home to take care of the babies and watch some television. Do you think he did well on that exam? Goku asked his partner, who was walking with his arms behind his neck. Miu smiled slightly. I hope so. She deserves it. She's been studying so much these last few days. She replied with some empathy as they both approached the entrance of the high school where several students were leaving, and from among the crowd a cheerful purple-haired girl began to appear. Guys! He shouted happily, but just a few meters before reaching the couple, there was an explosion. The explosion was so huge that it reached up to 3 blocks away, but unfortunately, Miu could only react and cover the people near her with an energy barrier, thus saving Toka's life. Who was the wretch? Miu cursed angrily, causing a purple aura to appear around her as Goku recovered from the ground. Too slow. Goddess of Destruction, someone said from a few meters away, making the white-haired woman open her eyes in surprise, and then she remained motionless, as if she had been frozen in time. I'll go find the others. Don't be long, Black. Hearts finished before creating a space-time portal and entering it, but before the portal closed, a white blur entered it. Nyeh! Goku exclaimed upon seeing his partner motionless with that surprised expression, but suddenly he felt a chill run through his body upon hearing someone clapping. Applause! Now you will feel the wrath of a god! Son Goku, said Black as he approached the Saiyan, who was speechless upon seeing a person identical to himself in front of him. So you're the scoundrel who attacked these people and did this to Miu, he said, his expression turning serious. Ha ha ha, is there a problem with that? Black asked, stopping abruptly, and they both stopped laughing mockingly. Meanwhile, Goku stared at him for a few seconds with a serious expression. Tell me who you are and why you know who I am, the furious Saiyan exclaimed. Tsk, a mortal demanding answers from a god. How disgusting. Let's end this, Black said, getting into a fighting stance. So, if you're a god, I need to get serious, Goku remarked before transforming into a Super Saiyan, and without further ado, he launched himself at Black, who easily stopped the attack, much to the Saiyan's surprise. Seriously, is this all your pathetic power? The villain asked, smiling maliciously before clenching Goku's fist to deliver a knee strike to his abdomen and then a kick to his arm, breaking it. Goku screamed as he flew off and crashed into a wall, which ended up collapsing completely. Ni-sama! Toka shouted from the ground, her body feeling heavy from her injuries. Surprisingly, she was the only one conscious, as her companions, who had been saved by Miu, ended up unconscious. He's incredibly strong. With 2 blows he left me in this state. So, the Saiyan whispered as he stood up with great difficulty. Thenaialeo goeo o yut! He shouted as he was enveloped in a red aura, transforming into Super Saiyan God. But even so, his broken arm hurt quite a bit. Sk, the red phase, so you haven't reached the blue one yet. Black whispered before smiling again. Let me show you something worthwhile, he said, extending his arms. Will it be worth it? Goku wondered doubtfully. Ah! The villain screamed, undergoing a transformation. His hair stood on end and turned pink, while a dark purple aura appeared around him. Super Saiyan Roz, he exclaimed with a victorious smile upon seeing the Saiyan's astonished face. Goku couldn't believe the absurd power of his enemy. Even in god form, he couldn't stand a chance. These were certainly no ordinary villains, having easily knocked Miu out of the fight. I can't give up yet. I'm humanity's only hope. Tsk! If only the Guardians hadn't gone to Universe 12, he whispered as he got back into a fighting stance. Get ready, Son Goku! Black shouted, forming an energy sword, and then launching several ki blasts at the Saiyan, who finished them off with an instant Kamehameha using his only available arm. He then jumped to dodge Black's attack, but surprisingly, Black appeared above him and plunged the sword into his abdomen, then kicked him in the head, sending him crashing to the ground and creating a crater, knocking Goku out of the fight and causing him to lose his transformation. Ni-sama! Toka screamed in terror, running quickly towards where the Saiyan had fallen. Meanwhile, Black descended from the skies with a huge grin on his face. Ha ha ha, it needs a little more excitement, he commented before launching several ki blasts, destroying various locations. Marvelous. Toka had knelt down and was trying to stop the Saiyan's bleeding with her hands. Ni-sama, hang in there, she said desperately. Cough, I'm sorry, my power isn't enough. Cough. Goku apologized with difficulty. Don't strain yourself, she told him as she took off her jacket and placed it on his abdomen. Squeeze hard, she shouted nervously and desperately. It's useless, Black exclaimed, slapping Toka and knocking her to the ground. But she quickly recovered and stepped between Goku and the villain. Don't hurt her anymore! Get out of here! You damned wretch! The purple-haired girl shouted angrily and fearfully about what might happen, although deep down she had faith that Diana would appear to save them all. Out of the way! Human! Black yelled, grabbing the girl and throwing her against the wall. Gaji. She spat blood at the moment of impact, but the adrenaline of the moment continued to help her, and with difficulty she recovered. With tears and blood on her face, she headed back towards Goku. "It's over! Human!" Black exclaimed, making the energy sword reappear, causing the young woman to become overexcited and begin to thrash about. "No! This can't end like this! Big brother! If only I had power like yours! I would protect you! Big sister! Big brother!" She said to herself with all the pain in the world, and at that moment her body began to glow. "Nanny!" Black exclaimed at the shockwave caused by the girl, and even more so when he was blinded by a purple light. From the same light came a wave of energy that sent the villain back far away from Goku. Who the hell is this human, and why does she have this kind of power? Black exclaimed in surprise as he saw the girl looking at him seriously. Goku, barely able to contain himself, stared in astonishment at Toka's new appearance, and, even more so, the terrible power she now possessed. Instinctively, he glanced sideways at Mew, and then looked back at the purple-haired girl, who turned her head to look at him. "Rest! I'll take care of everything, Niai-sama," she finished in an authoritative tone before turning her gaze back to Black. The sound of sirens could be heard near Sukin High School, coming from the police, firefighters, and ambulances that were helping the people injured by the destruction caused by Black, who was standing stunned, staring at that human woman who was looking at him seriously. "You defy a god?" "Pathetic," the villain commented after regaining his composure, and then launching several ki blasts at the young woman. An explosion occurred, which made Black smile triumphantly, but unfortunately for him, as the smoke cleared, he could see Toka, who was still staring at him seriously, while a shield surrounded her, and Son Goku, who was barely conscious. "A god? You're not even close to them," the purple-haired girl retorted, launching a purple energy ball from the palm of her left hand. The villain easily dodged it, not expecting it to explode meters behind him, affecting him and causing him to fall to the ground with minor injuries to his back. "Damn it! You'll pay for this!" Black exclaimed, summoning his energy sword once more and glaring hatefully at the teenager before vanishing from her sight. "Look! Oyut! T-O-H-R! G-A-H-H-J-T!" Goku yelled, spitting blood and clutching his wound. The purple-haired girl turned to look at the Saiyan. It undoubtedly pained her to see him in that state. Despite having met him only a week ago, she had grown fond of him, as well as Mew. Suddenly, Black appeared behind Toka with a psychopathic smile. "It's over!" he exclaimed, throwing a punch at the girl with the energy sword Ni-sama. "I asked you not to exert yourself. Trust me, I feel that with this power, I can protect you." He finished with a smile, while looking at his right hand, while with his left arm he had extended behind him, having stopped Black's sword with his Sandalfan sword. "Toka!" Goku whispered as he watched the girl swiftly stop the villain's thrust without even looking at him, since she was speaking directly to him. "I can't even sense your ki," he said, surprised. "Be careful. Don't get cocky," the Saiyan told the girl. "Umu." She nodded with a small smile, then turned around to see Black's surprised face before punching him in the face and sending him crashing into a clothing store. "Oh no, if Mrs. Fujiwara finds out I destroyed her store, she'll kill me," she thought, sweating profusely. "Ay, ay, ay!" Black screamed, raising his power as he was surrounded by a dark pink aura, then soaring into the air, blood pouring from his nose from the girl's punch. "I'm tired of this. I'll kill you, and then Son Goku!" he exclaimed, plunging his energy sword into his right palm, then drawing an energy scythe and pointing it at the young woman. Toka sighed at the god's arrogance. He was testing her patience. "Let's finish this once and for all, villain!" the purple-haired woman exclaimed seriously, gripping her sword tightly and launching herself at him. Their swords clashed, creating a massive energy wave that spread across the sky without causing any damage. You think that by increasing your power a little, you can stand up to a god. "Human!" he shouted, smiling at her as he increased his strength, beginning to gain ground. But Toka wouldn't be left behind. A purple aura surrounded the girl, who, with a powerful movement of her sword, sent the villain soaring higher into the sky. Without wasting a second, she launched several energy attacks from Sandalfon that struck the villain, creating a smokescreen in which Black's cries of pain could be heard. Meanwhile, Toka remained in the same place, believing that the attack had been enough to defeat him. Unfortunately, he was still there, clutching cuts that bled slightly. "It's over!" exclaimed the teenager, extending her left arm and then creating a sphere of purple energy. Black, who had been bowing his head, began to laugh. "Ha ha ha ha! That's right! It's over! Human!" he shouted, raising his head and then appearing behind Toka. With his scythe, he struck her with an energy attack, which, in addition to hitting her squarely in the back, created a huge space-time rift around the girl, from which an absurd number of blacks began to emerge and surround her. Grr, the purple-haired girl groaned in pain. Despite taking a direct hit, she only suffered a slight blow thanks to her armor, though it still hurt a little. She sighed as she recovered, and looked intently at all the villains around her. She immediately knew which one was the original, so to speak. Judging by his injuries, that triumphant smile distinguished him from the others. "You've become an excellent appetizer. When I'm done with you, the main course will follow," he commented, licking his lips with a huge smile. "Finish her off," Black concluded, ordering the others to use energy swords and scythes before launching themselves at the teenager. As Toka saw the villains approaching, she closed her eyes for a few seconds, and when she was just centimeters away from being attacked, she opened her eyes full of determination, gripped her sword tightly, and dodged the first one by jumping on top of him. Then she spun around, creating a whirlwind with her sword and taking out several at once. Several blacks shouted, launching a dark Kamehameha which joined together to form one much more powerful. Toka continued dodging some attacks and defeating others, but when she saw the enormous technique heading towards her, she launched several energy attacks around her to take out the enemies nearby, and then launched a huge energy attack towards the Kamehameha. But to her surprise, the enemy's technique was much more powerful, so she barely managed to dodge it. "Ha ha ha, wonderful. Why don't you turn around?" exclaimed Black, who had 4 identical ones beside him. Toka opened her eyes in surprise and turned to see the Kamehameha heading towards Goku, so without hesitation she flew at tremendous speed past the technique to go and help the Saiyan. "I won't make it!" he told himself as he tried to go as fast as possible, but it was insufficient. So with his sword he tried to cut the technique, but it was useless and he was thrown to the other side, falling to the ground. "Ha ha ha," Black laughed. "It's over," he finished with a psychopathic smile as he looked at Son Goku, who couldn't move and had resigned himself to whatever came. Pum pum! The sound of a gun firing twice was heard at the scene, and suddenly the technician stopped frozen in place. "Huh? What's going on?" Black asked, seeing that the technique had frozen, just like the goddess of destruction had, whom Hearts had imprisoned in a temporary prison. Quite powerful, even for a god of destruction. That's when he was surprised and turned to look at the goddess. A purple aura began to surround Miu, who moved, surprising the villain, and with just her gaze, Black's Kamehameha disintegrated. "Sat, before I end your miserable existence, tell me who the hell you are," Miu demanded, giving the villains a death glare. Black felt intimidated by the goddess. His plan had undoubtedly been thwarted. He had counted on Hearts to stop her with that temporary technique, but someone had managed to free her. "What were those shots?" the villain wondered. "Hee hee hee." Black heard the sound of a girl laughing sinisterly. He quickly looked around and all he saw was a red and black dress disappearing into an alley. Toka emerged from the rubble and was relieved to see Miu holding Goku, her eyes fixed on the villain who didn't know what to do. He knew that one wrong move would be the end for him. "Ni-sama!" exclaimed the purple-haired girl, gaining the attention of the goddess of Universe 7. "Can you create a barrier?" she asked with a smile, to which the white-haired girl raised an eyebrow. "A barrier?" he asked. "Yes, but why do you ask? And why didn't you tell me you had such power?" he asked, as if he were challenging her. "Don't move!" Toka exclaimed when she saw the original Black move his right arm, then turned her gaze to Miu. "Just create a barrier when you see the signal," she finished, turning back to the villains with a serious expression. She slammed her leg into the ground, and a kind of golden throne appeared from the ground. "What is that?" Goku asked in a whisper that only his partner could hear. "I don't know, my dear, but I sense an enormous power in Toka. I can't even say for sure, because she doesn't use ki, not even the ki of the gods. Let's trust her," she finished, giving the Saiyan a smile before placing a hand on his injured area. Then it began to glow a bright green, slowly healing his wound, much to his amazement. Toka approached the golden throne and extended her sword towards it. Suddenly, the throne began to crumble into pieces and merge with the purple-haired woman's Sandalphon, creating an enormous sword that was much larger and more powerful. Just as Miu, Goku, and Black were stunned by the terrifying power pressure emanating from Toka at that moment, the villain began to curse inwardly, since his only option would be to retreat for the time being. "This is for messing with us! Havan Helev!" exclaimed the purple-haired woman, brandishing her sword and unleashing a massive energy attack that obliterated one of the villains who had stood in front of the others, leaving him reduced to dust. "Is that destructive energy?" Black asked, astonished and terrified. he exclaimed, swinging the sword 3 more times, finishing them all off. Seeing that there was no more danger and sensing no evil energies, he could relax, returning to normal, leaving behind the armor and the sword, which vanished into thin air. Guys! Toka ran happily towards Goku and Mew, where she was subjected to many questions, almost all of which she didn't even have the answers to. In an alley a few meters away, a girl was leaning against the wall with a small smile. "You've awakened, my dear little sister," he whispered before disappearing into the shadows. Later that day, back at home, Toka was doing homework while texting with one of her friends, Kaguya, who was the smartest in her class and also the vice president of the student council. Meanwhile, Goku was relaxing in the bathtub, taking a shower with Mew, getting a little lovey-dovey. Meanwhile, Diana was looking at the strollers where the babies were sleeping while thinking about what had happened during the day. Flashback Universe 7, Timeline 618. What are you doing here using a time ring? Diana asked Hearts, whom she was holding by the neck. Do you think I'll tell you? Doesn't the goddess of everything have all the answers? The purple one replied in a hostile tone, surprising the goddess that he knew she was the new goddess of everything. Where did you steal the ring, you piece of trash? The white-haired girl asked, exerting a little more force. The ring is the least of it. Try to take care of your family because everyone knows the truth. Xeno's facade won't work on them. When she breaks free from her chains, it will be the end for all of you, ha ha ha. He started laughing like a madman. If that happens, she will be eliminated, Diana commented authoritatively. Ugh, so that means her predecessor will be eliminated too. Or have you forgotten? Sisters are like family. If something happens to one, it happens to the other. Ha ha ha, she replied in a psychopathic manner. Hakai hearts turned to ashes that faded as the seconds passed. I will do anything to protect my family, Diana whispered as the image of Mew flashed through her mind, then that of her grandchildren, and finally the image of Toka smiling at her. Shuchin Academy the next day. It was already midday, and Diana was in charge of preparing lunch. She was already in the kitchen humming a song, as this week had made her very happy spending time with her family. Meanwhile, outside in the garden, Goku was meditating, training to improve his ki control, since, according to Mew, it wasn't very good, and therefore he had difficulty manipulating divine ki, the base of which was normal ki. While he was meditating, his partner, the goddess of destruction, was a few meters away, sitting on a bench, eating a tangerine, while breastfeeding their daughter Mio, who was quite the glutton, unlike her brother Gohan. Meanwhile, at Shuchin Academy, the bell had rung just a few minutes ago, which meant it was lunchtime, the most anticipated moment for Toka. She quickly and excitedly headed towards the student council, of which she was a member. Upon entering, she saw the president, Shirogane Miyuki, sitting on the sofa arranging his bento on the small table in front of him, preparing to enjoy it. "President!" exclaimed Toka upon seeing the blonde man, as she had thought she would be the first to arrive. Upon hearing the purple-haired girl's voice, Shirogane glanced at her and then proceeded to pick up his chopsticks to begin eating. "You're early, Yatogami," he commented before tasting the food. The teenager pouted, sensing his hostility, but suddenly a mischievous smile spread across her face. "Don't tell me you were waiting for Kaguya so you could have lunch alone?" She asked playfully as she approached the sofa in front of the president and then settled down to eat lunch herself. She spat out the food in her mouth upon hearing Toka's words. "What? I was expecting Shinomiya?" she exclaimed to the purple-haired girl who was separating the bento boxes. "That's right. I told Fujiwara there was a possible romance between my classmates, so I'd go investigate, as is her custom. Ishigami usually has lunch alone on the roof, and I thought Toka would do it with her rival as usual, leaving me alone with Shinomiya." Miyuki thought as she regained her composure and continued eating her lunch. Meanwhile, Toka began opening the bento boxes and was fascinated by the various delicacies inside. "It smells delicious, Ni-sama," she whispered to herself before practically devouring everything. Flashback. It was 7 a.m. and Toka had woken up after oversleeping. Because of this, she wouldn't have time to prepare her bento. She rushed out of the room she shared with her mother, since she and Goku had moved in with them at their request, along with Mew. After going to the bathroom and then returning to her room to change into her school uniform, she went to the kitchen to grab something to eat before leaving. But when she got there, she found a slightly sleepy Mew sitting at the side of the table, which was covered with several bento boxes stacked on top of each other and wrapped in a small blanket. "Ni-sama!" exclaimed the purple-eyed girl upon seeing the goddess, who yawned before turning her gaze to her. "Good morning, Toka," Mew greeted after yawning as she stood up. "Since your mother isn't here, I took the trouble to prepare your lunch," she finished with a small smile. A huge joy coursed through the teenager's body, and she rushed towards the goddess to give her a tight hug. "Ni-sama!" she shouted while showing her affection. A slight blush appeared on her cheeks at the affectionate gesture from her little sister. "It's not like I cared," she stammered, but was silenced by a finger placed on her lips by the purple-haired girl. "You're not good at lying, Ni-sama," Toka remarked, followed by a mischievous giggle. "Thank you for making me lunch. You're the best," she said as she packed the bento boxes into her backpack or whatever they used. "I'm leaving before I'm late," she finished, giving Miu a kiss on the cheek before leaving her sister with a small smile as she touched her cheek. End of flashback. That was delicious, Toka commented 15 minutes after devouring her lunch, leaving a stunned Miyuki who couldn't believe the way the girl ate. "Damn it, Toka, you should eat more sophisticatedly. You're a lady after all," the president remarked after regaining his composure. "Hey, sorry, it's just that for some reason I started feeling hungrier than usual. Anyway, isn't Fujiwara-san coming?" she asked curiously since several minutes had passed and the pink-haired girl hadn't arrived. The blonde man placed a hand on his chin, striking a thoughtful pose, and after a few minutes replied, "You should go to the doctor. A normal person can't eat what you ate, Toka." On another note, it's strange that Fujiwara and Shinomiya haven't arrived yet. He added this last part with a hint of hope. Meanwhile, the purple-haired girl gathered her things and stood up. "I'll go put this away and see where Kaguya went." "Maybe she's with Fujiwara," she said, shrugging her shoulders. "See you later, President," she finished with a slight bow and left. "Yatogami Toka, do your best to find Shinomiya and send her back here," he thought to himself as he continued to stare at the door through which the girl had gone. Unfortunately for Miyuki, the lunch bell rang 5 minutes late. At that moment, Toka was in the classroom chatting with her best friend Kaguya, who was sitting in front of her. It turned out that Kaguya hadn't gone to lunch with the student council because Fujiwara had taken her to investigate a couple who was supposedly having an affair in the student council president's classroom. "Ah, you should have seen the president's face. He was longing to see you, Fofufu," she told the red-eyed girl in a mocking tone. A huge blush appeared on Shinomiya's face. "Does the president long to see me?" she wondered to herself. Seeing her friend stunned by her words, Toka brought her back to her senses by squeezing her cheeks. "Ay!" Kaguya moaned in pain. They should put their pride aside and confess their feelings. Then they can be a happy couple, the purple-haired girl told her best friend. "A happy couple," she whispered to herself as she imagined herself dating Miyuki while smoke billowed from her ears. Seeing her friend's condition, Toka huffed under her breath. "Great, Kaguya's gone." She shook her head until a crumpled piece of paper hit her nose. She immediately looked around to see who had thrown it. To her right, in the other row, sat a girl with long white hair and light blue eyes. She was quite thin, but what started to bother Toka was the fact that she was laughing. "What do you think you're doing, Tobiichi Origami?" the purple-haired girl reprimanded, approaching her teammate and rival in the sporting aspect. The young rival shuddered at the sound of Toka's voice. She was undoubtedly annoyed. So, timidly, she turned her face to look at her and see what was wrong. Say something, Tobiichi Origami!" she reprimanded again, raising her voice. Little by little, their classmates began to pay attention. "Shh, I am sorry. There was a message written on the paper. Didn't you see it?" I asked timidly, something that was normal for her, except in sports classes where she becomes a real beast. "A note?" Toka wondered, raising an eyebrow slightly. But suddenly, the sound of the door closing startled all the students, who immediately turned around and saw a woman around 30 years old. She had long, black hair with bangs covering her left eye, leaving only her reddish right eye visible. She was slim with C-cup breasts and was wearing a black dress. "Hello, I'll be your new history teacher. I hope we can get along, or else I'll have to be the bad guy. Hehehe." She finished with a giggle and then wrote her name on the board, Tokusaki Kurumi meanwhile. At this moment, the Saiyan was rubbing his belly after devouring several plates of food, while Miu was helping her mother wash the dishes, and that's when she confirmed that she was distracted by seeing the look of bewilderment on her face. "Mother," whispered the goddess of destruction, with a certain concern. Surely it was because of Toka's case, who obtained a power never before seen and that they cannot even measure. Diana was lost in thought because of the meeting she had had the night before. Flashback. The goddess had gone shopping for dinner when, upon leaving the market, an adult woman emerged from an alley, wearing a somewhat unusual dress, and approached until she was standing in front of her. "I was looking for a moment when you were alone," the woman said seriously. Diana stopped dead in her tracks at what the dark-haired woman said. "I don't even know who you are," she replied coldly and continued walking past the woman. "How cruel you are, mother," she commented, turning around to look at Diana, who stopped abruptly and then turned to look at the girl. "You're confusing me with someone else. Besides, I've only had one daughter," she replied firmly, since she didn't consider Shampa her son after what he had done years ago. The woman sighed at the goddess's negativity. "Then tell me one thing. Can you feel what you call ki in me?" she asked, and after a few seconds a look of surprise took over Diana's face. It was then that the dark-haired woman spoke again. "You can't feel that ki in Yatogami Toka either, right?" Upon hearing her adopted daughter's name, Diana became serious and put down the shopping bags, placing them on the floor. "Who are you?" she asked authoritatively. "Tokisaki Kurumi is the name I decided to use 20 years ago. If you want answers, you'll first have to remember," the dark-haired woman finished, turning to leave. "Wait, what do you mean I have to remember?" I asked curiously, since that woman had called her mother, but I had never seen her before, and besides, she knows Toka. Simply that, remember what you did 30 years ago, with that you will know the truth between Toka and me. "Mother," she finished, starting to walk and waving her arm. "Don't worry, I will take care of her, as I always have from the shadows." She said the last part to herself, leaving a stunned Diana who didn't understand what was happening. She even felt that the woman wasn't lying, since she didn't feel any malice in her heart. End of flashback. After everything was clean, Diana went to lie down for a while in her room, while Miu stayed with Goku, sitting on the sofa. "I'm worried that Toka doesn't remember anything about the battle, only coming running towards us," commented Miu, who was sitting between the Saiyan's legs. "Yes, and not only that, that guy who used the Super Saiyan Rose transformation was too powerful for me, but Toka had the advantage against him at all times," he commented seriously while stroking his partner's hair. "Putting aside what's happening here, I'm a little worried about Earth, specifically about Bulma," she sighed, reflecting on her concerns. "Ha ha ha, don't worry, our friends are quite strong, and don't forget that Vegeta is with them," Goku replied cheerfully and confidently. I don't know, there's a lot to think about," she finished, remaining serious as she imagined various scenarios. Back at the Academy A, few minutes of class had passed, and the teacher was reading a book to the class. Out of boredom, Toka began to draw on a piece of paper, until she remembered the paper Origami had thrown her, so she carefully took it out of her bag and unwrapped it. "Yesterday I saw you fighting a guy with pink hair. What's the meaning of that purple armor you were wearing and that sword? Who are you? Are you human? Can you give me your math homework? P.S. Tell Shinomiya-san that I know his secret too." After finishing reading what his rival had written, he crumpled the note and reluctantly put it away. "You and your jokes. Tobiichi origami," he muttered, shaking his head before becoming bored with his reading again. Even though 45 minutes of class had passed, it felt like hours. "It must be my imagination," he thought, considering that possibility.